É isso aí, senhoras e senhores, muito bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite a cada um de vocês. E estamos de volta aqui com mais um vídeo sobre Silent Hill 2 Remake. A PlayStation gringa lançou um novo vídeo agora, um vídeo mais de conversa com os desenvolvedores do jogo, tanto o criador criativo e também com o redator principal deles, falando um pouco mais ali do hospital, cara. E entre outras coisas que a gente vai conferir agora mesmo. Como de costume, né? Padrão, infelizmente, não tá em português. Pelo menos não tá em japonês, igual os últimos vídeos que a gente vem conferindo. Mas tá legendado, vai dar pra gente entender muito do que eles estão conversando. E logo mais, cara, ainda mais essa semana, deve já sair as primeiras reviews a partir do dia 4 agora. Ainda essa semana deve rolar novidades sobre Silent Hill. Então tomem cuidado para vocês assim que não querem tomar mais spoilers ainda, porque já temos muita coisa já sobre o jogo, mas a partir do dia 4 deve rolar. E no dia 8, o lançamento do jogo. Agora, sem mais enrolar, vamos lá, vamos conferir esse novo vídeo aqui de Silent Hill, meus amigos. Vamos embora!
That's perfect for James's state of mind at this point in the story. Like, he's so desperate.
And he gets called Fart Face. I love that you guys kept Fart Face, by the way.
Actually, also,
Ela
I was
chamando isso
during writing, like, so
cara de peido.
line staying in, I'm tripling down on it, actually.
PlayStation Underground.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of PlayStation Underground. I'm your host, Tim. I'm very excited to be checking out two versions of Silent Hill 2 with our friends at Bloober Team. I'll introduce you guys. So we got Mateusz Leinart, who is creative director and lead designer at Bloober Team on the Silent Hill 2 remake. And we also have Andre Monjak, who is lead writer at Bloober Team. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.
My pleasure indeed. So obviously what we're looking at here is pre-recorded capture of the 2001 PS2 original version of Silent Hill 2. In this episode, we're going to check out a scene from the original and then show off what Bloober Team has been working off in the remake and kind of compare and contrast and talk about how you guys have been,
Eu tinha jogado tanta versão de PC que eu já tinha esquecido dessas telas de load que era dessa forma, cara.
And so let's dive in here with this cutscene with Laura and kind of what stands out to you guys when you look back at this original cutscene.
Yeah, there's definitely this feeling, like even before the cutscene, that you have this loading screen, which is like very nice touch. And I remember that we were thinking about this topic a lot during the production because we knew that we want to have like the game seamless.
Yeah.
But in the original, it actually creates like this kind of feeling of uncertainty when you are entering the new room.
The footprints.
Yeah, exactly. So right now we need to have it seamless, and we set up the scene a little bit different. So we hear Laura actually before you are entering the cutscene, right? But the general feeling of the room, it's quite the same, right? Like we needed to rearrange a little bit the environment here to fit into the modern, like possibilities that we have with the camera, with the shots, with close-ups, etc. But the general setup of the room is quite similar.
Yeah. And also, just like from a purely narrative standpoint, I think, clearly the cutscene is like a lot of its aspects are of its time, but like one really needs to stress just how kind of meticulously woven the narrative in the original is, and it holds up tremendously. And I think like my general approach to, for example, doing rewrites for cutscenes, and this one included, was to, basically don't change stuff for the sake of changing. It's more about sort of preserving, those original beats, those original sort of character dynamics, and it's like really. There's one really has to sort of admire how kind of tight and dense with meaning those original scenes still are.
I agree. I love, Silent Hill 2 and the series in general is known for having an amazing, like, dream-like quality to it. And this cutscene to me, as a fan, really encapsulates that, where it just doesn't seem, it's like, James is so trusting here. We're getting to know Laura better. But yeah, and then of course we're entering the room here. What do you guys think when you look back at the way that this boss is introduced before we get into the fight? What stood out to you back in the day when you were starting to remake it? What do you like about what you see here?
Yeah, like the original one, like, is obviously something that we were taking a close look.
Yeah.
And like the tight, like the small space in the room was something that was very like into like Silent Hill 2 original game, right? Like every boss fight it was you in this like very tight room, very small space, and you need to deal with these big monsters. It's something that obviously don't work that well in the third-person camera.
Oh, there it
these
is.
days. And obviously the second thing.
Então o chefe vai mudar.
That was actually the
A
big
boss
decision
fight.
that should we introduce the monster before the cutscene ends? And at some point we just wanted to split those two things to focus more on Laura, on how they are talking to each other.
Definitely. And we're
Não faz sentido esses combates. Não sei se vocês vão apresentar esse tipo de combate antigamente. Hoje em dia não funciona mais, cara. Uma sala fechada desse jeito, muito apertada, numa câmera. Uma câmera.
Aesthetic and vibe.
Terceira pessoa.
Well, the vibe's very much the same, but it's just, this is such a great example of what you guys are doing with the game. So talk us through what we're looking at here from visual, performance perspective, cinematic, whatever you think is interesting to talk about.
Yeah. So definitely, I mean, current technology gives us certain possibilities, for example, to rely more on like nuance in the performance, like small expressions, very sort of subtle, like gestures and stuff. And that's definitely something we've made use of. And this very first moment between even like James and Laura, when you can see her like physically tense up when she hears her name and whatnot. And but then again, we still, the main sort of objective was to still capture those original kind of dynamics and emotions.
Yeah, I really loved those small touches, like the facial expression is one thing, but the second thing, I remember that we had like this moment when I think Luke Roberts like almost hit the the setup on the motion capture scene, and then we saw that like, hey, it would be actually very nice if you can actually stumble on it, because it will create like this kind of better pacing and flow for the
Graficamente tá muito bonito,
it
cara.
makes total sense for the character, because he's even himself like taken aback by his outburst.
Yeah. Oh, and it works so well here. And I also wanted to mention, we already, from watching the
Graficamente o jogo tá
original,
muito
that
bom,
Laura's
cara.
not totally to be trusted here. Her facial expressions and what she's doing with her eyes when she's sort of saying, "Hey, there's something."
Parece que o level design também foi respeitado e até melhorado.
It's such a striking change from the original wall. Like, just such a great, way to convey her character and a kid sort of, maybe inventing something.
Yeah, and I've actually I've heard comments, well, James gets fooled pretty easily, you could say, in this scene, and I did hear like, there were questions like, should we maybe make it a little bit more believable? But having given it some thought, I really thought that no, that's actually precisely like, that's perfect for James's state of mind at this point in the story. Like, he's so desperate.
And he gets called Fart Face. I love that you guys kept Fart Face, by the way.
Fart Face. Actually, also, I was asked during writing, like, so is the Fart Face line? And I'm like,
Que bom que deixaram, né, pessoal?
down on it, actually. And,
Yeah, she does.
but it totally
She does.
it makes sense to me, because it's like a kid would be so proud of a name like that she wouldn't just drop it the one time.
Ela não tem maldade nenhuma, cara.
Okay, so
Por isso que ela não
we're
veio
about to
criatura
switch,
nenhuma. Eu quero ver essa...
2000.
Cara, não quero que eles mostrem essa luta não, mano.
Yeah, I wanted to note too.
Será que vão mostrar?
The boss
Eu não me
felt
lembro se já foi mostrada essa luta em algum momento antes. Eu não
I think
consigo
we're gonna
lembrar
see an
agora.
Interesting contrast here with gameplay. So, this is yours truly, trying my best here. Wanted to note for people watching.
As boss fights tem que ser mudada, cara. Isso aqui não funciona hoje em dia de forma alguma. Já teve aquela do Pyron Head,
This
né? Já foi mostrada.
Two flesh lips.
Also,
Já tá bem melhor, né?
like very good memories. Of course.
Yeah, it was intense.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and like the atmosphere, this dark room, and the tone of the scene is something that we obviously knew we need to perceive that like in the new version, but at the same time we couldn't just stay in that tight room anymore.
But also just like the creature design. I mean, for its time, it was just groundbreaking. Like, it just didn't see like monsters in survival horror games that really look like that.
I remember thinking, like, what am I looking at when I first, confronted these things? At least, the red pyramid thing or pyramid head looked like a humanoid. This was just completely, like, almost imperceivable. And then, of course, here I've switched over to the shotgun for some more firepower, skipping melee for this fight. But, you think what I'd love to is, like, you think you're almost done here,
Yeah, definitely. And, you are pointing out, like, very important things, right? Like, about the tone, about Yonji mentioned about the design, and what's nice here, like you said, it's like we are thinking that that's it, right? Like we won. And what now? And then it's pretty surprising. At least it was for me. And the reference to I hope it was to this movie, obviously to Jacob's ladder sequence. Just after the boss fight.
Yeah.
That for me at least was very interesting when I was playing it for the first time.
Well, I mean,
there I got them sort of in a good position where I don't think they could get past the incapacitated flesh lips, but and then now we're looking at you hear the sirens, which gives me goosebumps still every single time, and this is sort of how the boss fight ends, which doesn't quite feel like a victory, which is very in keeping with Silent Hill 2.
I think very, very few things in Silent Hill 2 feel particularly triumphant.
Yeah. And I'm so excited. So this is sort of the last moment we'll be seeing of the 2001 original in this episode. And then, you guys, I'm super excited for us to be showing off your new take on the flesh lip boss battle.
Mano.
So we're switching back.
Caraca, velho, eles vão mostrar boss fight. Não precisa. Eu realmente não me lembro de ter visto antes. Provavelmente eu não vi isso antes, cara. Não precisa, cara. Eu acho que já mostraram isso. Eu tenho uma leve impressão que já mostraram assim.
The first person camera. The second thing was the scale of the room that we needed to change, and we also knew that we want to expand on the idea, right? So keeping the original design of the monster was like super crucial, right? We wanted to go as close as possible, but at the same time,
Eu já tô até vendo os fãs mais
what can we do more, right?
fanáticos reclamarem porque a boss fight foi modificada, porque agora derruba ele e a gente tem que macetar ele.
Dynamic, right?
Estou prevendo isso acontecendo na comunidade.
Tension moments like during the fight, so you
Principalmente aqui na comunidade do Brasil, viu?
And what I personally really like with our version is that we split it into phases, like very obvious phases, and
Cara, mas tá muito mais interessante. Enquanto no original era 2,
in the future, like you see that you are breaking.
Agora é só um, mas aí ele consegue atacar com essas barras de aço do próprio corpo dele ali.
You already have like small parts of his arms trying to hit you, but I don't think like anyone would expect what will happen next, right? And it's also like it was very important for us to not rely only on rage weapons. We wanted to if we have like this mechanic of melee.
Oh my gosh!
This is this moment.
O que me parece é o seguinte, enquanto ele tá suspenso, você tem que atirar na mão dele pra ele cair. Aí quando ele cai, você tem que ir pro ataque melee. Não adianta talvez atirar no corpo porque tá com a parte de metal, talvez o metal proteja o corpo dele. Aí depois que você remove, olha só, outra parte, cara. Totalmente reformulada essa batalha, mano, que top!
Some kind of a spider, obviously.
Yes.
But I think it is nice because we are keeping this idea throughout the entire game. I don't want to spoil anything more, but it's basically something that we wanted to introduce to it. Obviously, talking to original creators, etc. And I think it's pretty nice, and it can surprise even the Blood Texas.
It looks so cool. The way even before the ceiling is wrecked and you see the ceiling tiles rippling as it's running through, and you're breaking apart the cage, which you think would be a good thing, but it turns it into this even more limber foe. And then here we go. James is succeeded for now. Yeah, just what a great expression of a very cool original, you know, boss concept, and then sort of brought to a new level. That's so cool, guys.
Yeah, if you expected to see 2 flash leaps, like here you go.
Tem outro! Ah, mano, não precisava pra que mostrar, mano? Na moral, velho!
We could say,
Pô, vou colocar o nome de spoiler bem no título, mano, porque isso aqui, nossa, não precisava, cara.
The remake and the original.
O que faz sentido agora, né? A gente acordar já na sequência dessa forma aí.
PS5, not long to wait. Thank you so much for
Acabou, rapaziada. Acabou. Então é isso aí, meus amigos. Silent Hill 2 Remake aí, modificando algumas coisas que, na minha opinião, acho que são extremamente necessárias para os padrões mais modernos hoje em dia, né? Câmera em terceira pessoa, a gente tem mais liberdade de movimentação, o James está mais ágil do que antigamente, até esquiva tem dentro do jogo. Essas coisas têm que fazer sentido. Tipo, pra quem não curtir, o original ainda tá lá, cara. Tá intacto. E o remake vem aqui aprimorando tudo isso. Eu, sinceramente, não tenho do que reclamar. Gostei do que vi. Aliás, acho que foi... Tô entregando demais, cara. Tanto que eu já comentei num vídeo anterior que eu acho que tudo isso que estão fazendo agora é por causa da maneira como revelaram o jogo lá, que foi mal recebida. Lembra muito o filme do Sonic, quando veio com aquela aparência bizarra. E eles estão fazendo esse marketing agora, mostrando principalmente como o jogo tá bonito visualmente. E também na parte de combates, na parte da ambientação. Tentando, depois daquele momento ali inicial da revelação do jogo, eles tentando chamar o público de volta. Olha aqui meu jogo, é esse aqui, olha como é que ele tá. Temos aqui o Silent Hill original ainda aqui dentro disso aqui, só que modernizado, melhorado. E me conquistou, cara. E a partir da semana que vem estamos aqui cobrindo todo o lançamento, ou quem sabe... a partir do dia 4. Não sei não, se liguem no canal. É isso aí, rapaziada, eu vou ficando por aqui. Não esquece de conferir se já é inscrito no canal, deixa aquele like também para poder apoiar a mais conteúdos assim que nem esse. Já valeu, pessoal, até mais. Fui!